up, everybody? Welcome back to IGN's E3 2014 live show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the creator of Ori and the Blind Forest, the man who made it all by himself, Thomas. How you
didn't
doing,
make it
Thomas?
all by myself.
No, you did. You did. Take credit. You're the only man up here. We didn't bring up the whole development team for a reason. Thomas.
Yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest. It's beautiful. I think a lot of people, it came into their consciousness at the Microsoft conference. Congratulations on making a debut.
Thank you very much.
But for my mother, who missed the Microsoft conference, huge PlayStation fangirl, what is Ori and the Blind Forest all about?
Ori and the Blind Forest is basically, it's a metroidvania. We don't particularly like the term, but people know what it means, right?
Yeah.
It's a metroidvania. We basically, one of the reasons why we made the game was because we grew up playing games like A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, and we just wanted to have people, you know...
You're saying all the right things, by the way.
We want for people to feel the same thing again, right? Like,
yeah.
I want to feel, you know, like, I want to feel that design again and like this really polished gameplay. And we've been working on the game for 4 years in secret.
4 years in secret.
In secret, in total secret, and now it's so insane to see everybody playing it.
Well, what do you tell people when you go out? And they're like, what do you do? And you're like, I make games. What game?
Nothing.
I can't say anything. We're done talking.
We can't say anything.
This date is over.
Yeah, we can't say anything.
So, we know it's the Metroidvania style game. From even the trailer that we're seeing here, the little introduction to everything that's happening, who are we? What world are we in? What are we doing?
So we're not going to talk a lot about story today, but basically, just as an overview, you're playing Ori, who's a forest spirit.
Okay.
And it's a bit of a coming-of-age story. It's an allegorical tale. Our characters are really fantastical, but deal with some very human emotions. And yeah, I'm going to leave the rest to a later date.
Okay, fine. You won't talk about the story. Let's talk about the gameplay. Right? I mean, we said Metroidvania, but we saw right there the character jumping around, doing some wall jumps. Like, you're talking Metroidvania, but it's also looking a little bit like Mario and having a whole bunch of different stuff.
So definitely we looked at kind of like, okay, what is a Metroidvania right now, but also, okay, how can we improve that formula? What can we do better, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of older Metroidvania games, the platforming was very basic.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that we wanted to improve, right? Platforming, like really getting into a level where it's like the platforming component is pixel perfect.
Yeah.
That was super important. I mean, we obviously took a look at, Super Meat Boy. Like for me, Super Mario Bros. 3 was always, that's the greatest platform in the world, right?
Yeah.
And then Super Meat Boy came along and did something really interesting with the controls, right? And we tried to take it from there and really, really perfect the controls. I mean, I was a little bit scared actually with when people saw the game first on Microsoft stage, because it was this artsy game.
Right.
And people, come up to me, tell me, oh, it's so sad, and I actually had tears in my eyes. But we worked.
Is that not what the game is?
It is absolutely what the game is. But
I was afraid people would think we're an artsy game. We are an artsy game.
There's so much more to it though. We worked over 1.5 years just perfecting the controls.
Yeah.
And I hope we're pushing all of that forward. Another thing that we're really pushing is story. We want to create a really beautiful story and with memorable characters. And I think we've seen that on stage, that people actually already build a connection with our characters.
Yeah, I mean, you figure what you're talking about makes a lot of sense, right? Super Meat Boy, of course, engaging gameplay, but that's what it was, and that's great. That's what people talk about. But to merge that with an interesting story, different characters you care about, that means a lot.
You mix it all up. I love what, for example, Konami did in '97, right? When they took Symphony of the Night, where they basically took elements from Super Metroid and said, okay, well, we're going to put in some RPG elements and just refine the formula, right?
Yeah.
We did something very similar. We just looked at, what are the components? What can we really improve? There's platforming, there's the combat mechanics, there's puzzles, and then there's always story that breaks up the pacing a little bit and always keeps you going,
Yeah.
We never want to have a moment in the game where it's like, oh yeah, I want to put the controller away. When people idly just play through it in one sitting. There you go.
So then, right now, you don't want to talk about the story. Fine. Describe what's happening in this level without ruining the story.
So, I mean, generally in this demo, we're showing some very early gameplay. The game actually starts with a prologue where the characters are being explained. We're trying story-wise to do something like, the game starts with the birth of the character, the birth of Ori.
Yeah.
But this part here that we're showing today shows the start of the core gameplay. And one of the nice things that I like about kind of like this Metroidvania style of gameplay is that the core mechanics always tutorialize themselves, right? Like, it's at the start you feel like a weak character because you are, but then you get more and more powerful, and those mechanics are being taught to you.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things that I really love about the game is how the mechanics work together. Like you get so many abilities, but then you actually start combining them.
Oh, here's the ability tree. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's an ability tree. There's two ways of upgrading. There's the natural progression, like on the ancestor trees. But then there's also an ability tree where the players can basically do optional upgrades, but can kind of like refine. Yeah, I want something like this, or I want something like that. I'm guessing Dan will upgrade any moment, or I did already, to get the soul magnet, which basically means, well, there are pickups in the game. Like every enemy has experience points and so on. And the soul magnet, for example, makes sure that, hey, the experience now floats to you, so you don't have to get it, right? There's a lot of this stuff that it's like, hey, it's either convenience or it makes you stronger, etc. on the ability tree. Yeah, that gives it a little bit of more for diverse gameplay options.
So you're referencing Super Meat Boy earlier. Of course, Super Meat Boy punishingly hard. Is that something you wanted to bring to Ori?
We love challenge.
Yeah, oh God.
We love challenge.
Oh no.
Oh,
thank goodness.
We always making sure that, hey, the game isn't too frustrating. Definitely, I think it's fair to say, I think that it's a lot more approachable than Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
You're not gonna die that many deaths. Another thing that we're probably gonna see Dan doing is cast the Soul Link. The Soul Link is a mechanic that kind of like combats all of that stuff a little bit. You see it right here, right? Like at any point in the game, you can actually save your game. And then also, with the ability tree, another thing that you can do, and see if he died here, and bam, he's right back, right?
I'm sure that was on purpose to show how. Oh, he's nodding his head yes.
And with the ability tree, you can actually go really deep into customization, right? So you can actually upgrade the Soul Link to give you health back. Like every time I cast a Soul Link, I actually get health back. But the Soul Link costs me energy, so I'm trading, and suddenly you're into resource management, right? Yeah.
That's an interesting layer to put on it, right? Like, I love that kind of choice, to build out my experience to be different from your own, right?
Exactly.
Wherever I want to invest and you don't want to.
Exactly. And there's a lot of abilities, there's a lot of stuff, like we went through, tons and tons of stuff and really kicked everything out. That was like, oh yeah, that doesn't seem that useful. Everything is like, that choice is really hard to make,
Oh, okay, you only want to torture me.
Yeah.
You want all the choices to be living nightmares for me. Thank you. That's a great feeling. That's what I want out of my games. So, in making this game, you wanted a great story. You wanted, obviously, amazing art. This is beautiful.
Thank you so much. Our artists are going to be so happy to hear that.
Well, yeah, he deserves it. But what was what for you in the 4 years? What was the hardest thing to make come together?
So here's the thing, it's a metroidvania.
Yeah.
Which means, like, generally one of the nice technical things that we did was that there are just no loading gun times in the game, ever. Like, a lot of modern games kind of like, try to hide that they have loading times by having you play the character a little bit. I hate that stuff. In an optimal world, you just don't have loading time.
Yeah.
And what the hardest thing is just trying to make the world fit together and trying to get the design, get back to design that is just really tight and really, really, really good. Like, that's the thing. Like, I mean, we're mentioning things like A Link to the Past and Super Metroid, and we're actually, crazy gamers. I mean, I read NeoGAF, I constantly read people's comments about, oh, I want to have another Super Metroid. Why aren't people making games like that anymore?
Yeah.
Well, we are.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say now you get to go post on NeoGAF and say we listened.
Yes.
If you don't buy this, it's your fault.
Exactly.
It's a good sales tactic. Paint them in a corner. You said you wanted this. Here it is.
There you go. So this is the ancestor tree, right? There are certain upgrade abilities where this is on the critical path. You're gonna need those abilities to actually progress, right?
Yeah.
This is where it's different to the ability tree. The ability tree upgrades are kind of optional. They make your life easier, but they're not necessarily required to actually progress.
Okay.
But these abilities are super, super important. And over the course of the game, you get so many abilities and you mix and match them together. Here we learn the wall jump, and there's constantly, there's constantly a little bit of a tutorial progress here. Like if Dan actually now moves to the left, he finds the first health upgrade in the game by actually platforming up there. And there's a lot of kind of like secrets like that in the game. Like we all grew up kind of like playing Super Mario, right? There was this moment of like in Super Mario Bros. 3, oh, you find the whistle, and then on the school, like
right. Then it all makes
tell
sense.
Everybody about it, right? And it's a Metroidvania. There are going to be areas where it's like, hey, only 5 to 10% of the people are actually going to find these places, but it's beautiful. Like when you're actually that person who finds that it's like there's something cool happening in your head, right? Like you feel like an
you
explorer.
feel like you're the one who got there.
Exactly.
You're the one who got there first. I mean, like you're talking about, that you wanted this giant open map, right? And to do that, so then like when I've always wondered, for making a Metroidvania style game, do you lay out the map you want and then go back and think about, well, what if I put this here and block this?
So here's the thing: we actually built insanely cool tech.
Yeah.
We built tech where if you actually go on the internet, right, and you look for these maps from these older games, you find people actually putting screenshots together of every single room and then building a collage of that, right? So we built that as our design tool. Like you can just select any area in the game and just move it somewhere else. So as a designer, I'm basically sitting there and I'm thinking about, well, that area here looks really good.
Yeah.
But really, in terms of pacing, it should be further down here. And we can totally do that in terms of our tech. So that's
crazy.
The perfect tool. That's the perfect tool to build something like a Metroidvania. And then we've added, like there's no loading times. There's no hiccups. There's no loading times. There's no nothing. It just becomes this really seamless, awesome experience.
So if there's no loading times and you're putting them all in place, is it possible then just to go in one giant move through the entire map?
Through the entire game.
Wow. How long would that take?
So in recent playtests, we see general playtime around 8 to 10 hours.
Wow.
It's a big game now.
Yeah, this is awesome.
We started actually, hoping that it would be a smaller game, because we are a smaller studio.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something like that, but it's like, we wanted to give people that feeling again, this Metroidish feeling, and yeah, it takes a world where you can explore a ton to actually build that.
Was there ever a conscious decision to make it bigger? Or was it one of those, you're just like, what was that? Well, and now it's huge.
So here's the thing, initially, just with the tech that we talked about, right? We just built scenarios that are like, oh my god, this platform, this level is really cool in terms of platforming. And I think we ended up building 350 of those in terms of levels. And it was just heartbreaking to cut anything, right?
Yeah.
So we just kind of put that together, and then the game just grew and snowballed a little bit, and then, oh my god, it has to be
slippery slope you're working on.
Yeah. But at the end, I'm really proud of what we ended up with. It's very tight gameplay, very focused, and I just want people to see that it's well designed. There's a lot of this kind of indie thing going on, but at the same time, the controls and the design, the level design, is just super, super important for us. We're in a studio that works, in this iterative way, where we're just polishing and polishing and polishing. Almost every level in the game has been built or has been changed 15, 20 times until it's really perfect, until it really fits the purpose of, where you're currently at. So, yeah.
How big is the team working on it? I made the joke at the beginning that you made it all by yourself, but...
Right. We actually... the interesting thing about Moon is I used to work at different places, right? And I always saw this problem that it's really difficult to get the right people into one place, just in terms of being a developer.
Sure.
Just having people relocate to all these places, right? So when I approached Microsoft, I told them, hey, I know the perfect team for that, for making that game, right?
Yeah.
But they're scattered all across the world, and we have people now in Austria, in Germany, in Israel, in America, in Canada, in the Netherlands, everywhere. And yeah, we're generally we're 8 core people, but we scale up, when we need, certain contracting things and so on. Generally 8 to 9 core people.
Now, while we were talking, he pulled back and showed some of the map.
Yeah.
And it looked like, we're in the lower sunken level now.
Yeah.
Then making our way, and there's a giant volcano and
Is
stuff.
your question how big the game is?
No.
Okay.
I know it's big. I already saw that 8 hours, all these other things. I was wondering how diverse the environments you go through.
So that's another thing. That's another thing where we looked at Japanese game development, right? Especially back then, classic days. What we try to make sure is that there's unique gameplay in every new area.
Yeah.
Really unique gameplay, and there's a lot of mechanics that you've never seen in 2D games being done like that before.
Yeah.
We're not showing a lot of this stuff today, which is a little bit of a sad.
Well, sure.
thing.
You want people to buy the game.
Yeah, sure. But
yeah, sure. You always want them to see it. You're like, I've been working on this in secret. Look at the game.
So now we've been working on perfecting this game for and really trying to polish everything. We're just such an iterative studio, and just for us for 4 years, it's been let's try to perfect it. Let's try to really polish absolutely everything. Polish, right? So there's every single area has something unique to it.
Yeah.
Has a unique theme. And yeah, we are ruthless about cutting things that aren't, that aren't like, oh yeah, this feels really new and fresh.
Yeah.
Like, that happens a lot of times in platformers that, excuse me, that you actually play through levels that feel similar and they just place different enemies there and so on. We're just cutting that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's a bold claim to make, Thomas, that you're just going to cut everything.
Play the game.
I will. I'm incredibly excited.
Floor, play the game. I want everybody to play the game. It's so exciting right now to see people playing it.
Guys, don't break his heart. Everybody go play Ori and the Blind Forest.
Absolutely.
Xbox One, PC this fall, right?
Xbox One and PC this fall, yes.
All right. Thomas, thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. There are more demos coming up here from E3 2014 on IGN's ever-present live show. Up next, well, it's that Dragon Age Inquisition. I hear that's going to be pretty good. Until then, here's a quick break.